This is me tearing my groin. This is me fixing my injury. And in this video, I'll show you 3 ways in which you can rebuild your hips after a groin strain. But if you keep watching, I'll show you what most personal trainers aren't doing, and that's how you can turn these exercises into an awesome mobility, strength, and fitness workout based off 25 years of my experience training clients. So if you're a man in your 40s with stiff, aching joints, and you want to get fit, athletic, and aesthetic, then you're in the right place, because I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. So after my recent groin strain and still being hindered by my old injuries, I soon realised that being a man in my 40s, that mobility training, although it was a good start, it wasn't enough on its own. The truth is, being 48 years old and having my fair share of injuries over the years, there are 3 things that I really want from my body these days that most men my age are also after. Firstly is fitness. I want energy, endurance, and a healthy cardiovascular system that elevates my mood and makes me feel great day to day. Number 2 is athletic capability. I want the ability to be able to move well without aches and pains and participate in any physical sport or hobbies that I really enjoy in life. And 3, which is just as important as the other 2, is aesthetics. And yes, on top of all that, I still want to look muscular, strong, and confident in my own body. The scary part is that most guys our age start to lose all 3 of those things without even realizing. And before you know it, you're not the man that you used to be.
You were great in your day, Superman.
But here's for the good news. Your body is incredibly adaptable. And if you're willing to swallow your ego and put in the work, you can rebuild strength, movement, fitness, and confidence again. In fact, if you really want to work hard at it, you can be better than you were in your 20s. So let's jump in. Exercise number 1 is going to be the Copenhagen Hip Lift. So the first exercise that you can bring into play after you've recovered from the groin tear is the Copenhagen Hip Lifts, because this directly targets the area that contributed to the groin tear in the first place. So here's what the Copenhagen Hip Lifts directly train. If you look to the side here, you'll be able to see that it directly targets the adductor muscles, which are the inside of the thigh. As well as that, it also hits exactly the point of the internal and external obliques, which in essence is the side of your abdominals. So why does this matter? Well, the adductor muscles need to be able to stabilize the hips when we have to change direction quickly. So let's now jump into how we execute this exercise correctly. Okay, so the first coaching point then is going to be the setup. So if you look into the exercise now, what we're going to do here is to ensure as we get into the Copenhagen plank position, we're going to set up in one straight line. So from my ankle through to my hip, all the way up to my shoulder, as you can see there, is one complete straight line, which then helps us really target the right muscles for this exercise. In terms of the tension points, then what you should feel is the tension, okay, or should I say the pressure points are going to be there in the ankle joint, okay, and there on the elbow, and a lot as well in the shoulder. So that's where you're going to feel quite a degree of pressure, okay? So that's absolutely fine in those positions there. So there you just need to stabilize those 3 anchor points from the ankle, the elbow, and then the shoulder. In terms of where you're then going to feel this, in terms of the actual tension points of the exercise, then you're going to feel it here on the inside of the thigh, the adductors, and then here as well on the internal and external obliques, which in essence is the side of the abdominals there. Okay, so let's dig into it then. Go through the exercise nice and slow and controlled. So you're allowing the hips to come all the way down. Just get a light touch towards the bottom and then just lift yourself back up, nice and controlled all the way through. Just try to make sure as well as you're going through this is that you keep a nice brace. Okay, yeah, so as you are lifting yourself up, you're just bracing the stomach and keeping that nice kind of tension as you're moving through the exercise there. When you get towards the end, what you're then going to do is start to move into internal and external rotation. So what this will do now is place a little bit more tension on different angles of the actual muscles themselves that are going to be involved. So if you just look into the exercise here again, okay, when we hit that position there where you've done 10 reps, you're then going to twist inwards and outwards. So you're going forwards and back in a rotational movement, which then creates again a lot more tension on different angles of the adductors and the obliques in that position there. Okay, so going into coaching point 2 for the Copenhagen hip lifts is what failure looks like and when we need to be able to regress the exercise if it becomes too much. So looking into the setup here, you're just basically starting again. However, if you are in a position here where you are lifting up and you can feel yourself really shaking and you're about to go into failure, as you can see there, I hope you like the acting skills of me struggling, then that in essence there is really going to be what we call a failure point. The way to regress the exercise is just by simply moving closer to the box so you have a smaller leverage point. So your knee is actually further onto the box itself. and that then allows you to take a lot more pressure off then the actual adductors and the obliques themselves. Okay, so coaching point 3 then is progression. If you wish to progress this exercise, there's a number of ways that you can do it. You can either lift the box higher, so there's a higher box and a higher pressure points, and the same with the elbows, so your body is more elevated off to the ground and you have to go through more range of motion, or you can just add more of the rotations into the exercise towards the end as well. Okay, and coaching point 4, common mistakes that people make with this exercise and where it typically kind of goes wrong for most people. So if we look in here, the thing that we don't want to do is when we're doing this exercise is to dip the hips. So as you can see here, what I'm doing is pushing the hips right the way back and leaning forward. You can see there I've got a lack of form and control, and I'm just pushing those hips backwards there, really struggling to be able to maintain that straight line. So what you need to make sure that you do is that you keep that straight line right the way through. Don't allow your hips to really kind of dip back. Again, if you're struggling, then just regress, as I just shown you earlier. So the final coaching point for this exercise is how many we do. So we want to be aiming for 3 sets of around about 12 reps on each one of the sets. And at the end of each one is still hit that internal rotation and external rotation 2 to 3 times. You want to be ideally doing this 1 to 2 times per week to really help with that hip development. Okay, so don't forget, the reality is you're probably going to find this hard work if you've got weak hips. So make sure that you focus on these vulnerabilities, because if you don't, then your body's going to force you to. So the next exercise is going to be the loaded lateral lunge with shoulder press. But before we get into that one, if you find this video useful, then press the subscribe button, because all of these videos are aimed to help you, the man over 40, to rebuild your body from the ground up so you can become fit, athletic and aesthetic. So go on, press the button. This is where we start to move a little bit more athletically and help those muscles integrate a lot more within one movement. Ultimately, what we're doing here is training the hips to be able to absorb force from side to side movement. So why does this matter? If you want to enhance athletic ability, then we need to develop both stability and control of movement in different directions at different times. So let's jump in. First protocol of this exercise, first of all, is to do a little bit of practice and to find our exact position in relation to the setup. So as you can see, I'm just trying to find the exact spot that allows me to get into that deep range and keep that good form. So you just want to obviously look at where you're going to spend your time in relation to your feet, okay, making sure that the feet are in the right position to allow you to get to where you need to be. You're going to be feeling the pressure points here, and obviously in both feet on the sides, but you're also going to feel some light tension on the inside of the thighs as well in terms of the adductors, because they are both being in a slightly stretched position until we start to move from one side then to the other. Then once we're happy, we then pick up our weights and then obviously get back into our same position, and then we're going to start the exercise. But just before we just jump in, just to let you know in terms of where we should be feeling things here. In terms of the tension points, as we lean out to one side, so I'm just going to continue this now with regards to the video, get down to that point there, so I'm just going to stop there. Okay, so what we should feel here is a stretch on the inside of the stretched leg, which is on the right on this side here, on my right leg there, okay, yeah, your left. So you can see there that leg there is elongated, those muscles there, the adductors are then elongated in that position. So you should feel a light stretch in that position there, which is all good, which is fine. At the same time, you're going to feel a lot of tension, obviously within the quadriceps, the hamstrings and the glutes on the left leg, as you can see in the position on your right side here, because they are now obviously absorbing all of the force to be able to get down into that low position there. You're also going to feel some tension in the lower back because you will have the weights that are in front of you, and so the gravity is going to want to be pulling you forward in this position, so you will have some tension there in the lower back. So in essence, the quadriceps and the whole of the posterior chain, so the muscles across the back side of the body, will really be kind of getting hit here. Also in this position, just to let you know, is that you will also be feeling this in the shoulders as you are just also coming down to the ground, because as you are moving through this position and trying to almost stabilize and brace and hold over the dumbbells, you're going to be feeling this in the shoulders themselves. So it's not just the shoulder press that's going to cause here tension within the shoulders, it's going to be just holding the weight as well as you move through this exercise. So as you can see here, we're moving through the position. We want to go down, all the way down as deep as we possibly can, get nice deep reps, nice and controlled, and then send the dumbbells up as we get to the top into a nice shoulder press from that position there. So as we get towards the top as well, just pause it there a second. What we want to make sure that we do is that we've got a good brace around the midsection, okay? So in that position there is that we are holding the brace nice and tight so that we don't cause too much pressure within the spine. And so it's good just to keep that nice tension there within the core as you're doing that shoulder press. and then obviously then you come back down and move back into that position again. As you move down towards the bottom, let's just pause here, you can then see at this position then you're going to want to seriously brace at this point as well. So what you will find is that when you are in this position towards the bottom, then because you are so deep into the actual position itself, you've got weight, okay, on your shoulders and you're in that low end range, then it will be hard to be able to maintain. So in order to keep that good form, you will need to brace the whole of your torso. In relation to how you breathe, what you're going to need to do with this is have a moment of brace when you're at the top, okay, yeah, and then as you're then coming back down, is then you want to inhale, so draw the breath in, and then exhale as you come back out, and then you're going to need to brace again as you then press. So how does that look? So if we continue on now, what we'll do here is that's a point there is where we've just then exhaled as we're then taking that shoulder press, because we've then got that still that nice tension there within the abdominals. Okay, and then as we come back down now, we're going to inhale, breathe in and hold it there at the bottom as we're in that low position. And then before we then obviously go back towards the top and then breathe out again. Okay, and so the next coaching point now is what it's going to look like if it kind of goes wrong. And so this is what we don't want to be able to happen here. So if we just look into the exercise, a lot of people go into this lunge, what will tend to happen is because the weights there that you can see are pulling you forward towards the ground, there's the tendency then to want to be able to pull forward. So it feels as though you want to bring your chest down towards the ground. We need to avoid that. Okay, yeah, so we don't want to be rounding the back out there, as you can see. We want to keep a nice straight line. So if you find that it's pulling you forward and your chest is aiming down towards the ground, then you're in the wrong position, okay? So we need to keep nice and upright. Okay, and so just so you can see what it looks like from a side angle to make sure that you've got this correct, is when you see this now from the side, it's about keeping that straight line, as you can see from here, from my hips all the way up then to my shoulders and back. You can see that nice straight line from there all the way down to all the way up towards the top. Okay, yeah, my chest is pointing forwards towards the wall, not down towards the ground. So just making sure that you keep that nice straight back all the way through. Bracing the stomach, keeping upright, let the legs and the hip do the work there. That's what's going to be the kind of the big part of this, is getting the legs and the hips to do the work to keep and maintain that nice straight back in that position. Okay, so if you're finding this exercise too difficult and you need to regress it, then all you need to do is just to reduce the range. So as we can see here, is when you adopt this position, you don't have to go all the way down if you can't kind of get there. You know, we want to focus on getting that nice straight line, as you can see from my hips all the way to the shoulders, and then just bring yourself back towards the top and then hitting that shoulder press there. So you just come down in a shorter range, as you can see there, up to the top and then press. And then what you want to do then is over time, is get yourself to a point whereby you can increase that range of motion. So you are coming further down in that exercise. So rather than go up in the weight, focus on getting more range. That's the way you want to be able to get this until you get to that point where you can get right the way down, so your thigh is basically parallel with the ground and you're in that nice deep end range and your chest is pointing forwards, not down. And if you want to progress this exercise, then the simple thing to do basically is to increase the weight. So if you've got that good range, good strong position, good form, and you want to increase the weight, then fill your boots. A good starting place really is around about 25% of your body weight. So start off with that in terms of the total weight, okay, of your body, and then from there start to increase between 5 and 10% of increments going up, okay, not of your body weight, of the weight that you're actually holding. So increase by 5 or 10 in terms of weight increments to then progress the weight to make it a little bit more challenging if you find that it's too easy for you to do on 25% of your body weight. Okay, so the final coaching point for this exercise then is how much we're going to do. So what we want to be aiming for with regards to the lateral lunge and shoulder press is ideally hitting it 1 to 2 times per week, and we want to be aiming for rep ranges of 10 to 12 repetitions, and again by using around about 25% of your body weight. Again, if you're happy with this in terms of you're hitting good range, then just simply increase the weight by 5 to 10% on each increment. So before we take you through the awesome workout routine, we're going to hit the final exercise now, which is going to be the athletic mobility. This is going to incorporate the lunge, the world's greatest stretch, and push-ups, all combined in one movement. So let's jump in. So what does this exercise actually do? This total body exercise primarily hits the following muscles: your hamstrings, glutes, core, chest, shoulders, and triceps, all within one movement pattern. In relation to the joints involved, we're really digging into the hips here, the thoracic spine, and shoulder mobility. So why does this matter? Well, this isn't about trying to become a kind of athlete. It's about making sure that you can execute basic physical movements that allow you to become physically capable in the world, whilst at the same time improving the aesthetic appearance of your body. So the first coaching point is the setup. Okay, so this can be quite a complex movement and does require a little bit of coordination. So let's break this down into little stages of the setup itself. So first of all, we're going to stand with our feet shoulder width apart, as you can see here. And then as we are then set, we're then going to lunge forward with one leg. So I'm just going to break this down into phases. So once we're set, we step, we lunge forward. As we lunge forward there, we're going to place one hand down towards the ground. So if you're lunging with your left leg first, then the right hand is going to come down to the ground to then support you. And you're then going to bring yourself into then rotation to be able to then hit the world's greatest stretch. So we go from there into the world's greatest stretch, and then from that position then we're going to bring then the opposite hand across down towards the ground to then adopt the push-up position. So the leg goes right the way back, we then hit the push-ups then for 2, and then we're going to do the reverse and bring the leg up towards the front foot, as we can see here. That comes up towards that foot. Once that foot is up next to that hand, we're then going to pull back the opposite arm and bring it into the world's greatest stretch again. But then we're going to go from that position there and we're going to lunge all the way back then up towards the top. Once you've done that, you're then going to come back to the start and then reset to do the same exercise again, but you're going to stay on the same side. Just do it this way because it's far easier from a coordination perspective to stay on the same side. Okay, so once we set off again, we're going to go into your lunge, world's greatest stretch, adopt the push-up position, hit your push-ups for 2, and then back in reverse, leg comes up, world's greatest stretch, back up towards the top. Okay, and this is what you're now going to repeat from here. So you're really trying to adopt this position of going into mobility and strength at the same time. Okay, you're going to find this quite fatiguing as you're moving through. So making sure that you're just controlling the reps, you're keeping it nice and controlled as you go through there. Take your time, don't go too quick, and just hit in every point of execution very well, making sure you've got good form. Okay, so the next point is how this looks when it is going wrong. Okay, so if you're experiencing stiffness or you can't quite kind of get it, this is what it's kind of going to look like. So as we look in here, if you are struggling to get down or you're finding that it's too painful, then in this position, then you are going to struggle with this exercise, okay? So if you're looking here, you're finding all of this is just too tight to be able to get in, and it's a struggle to push yourself back into those positions here, and then you ended up failing as well with the push-up, then obviously then this exercise is going to be too much for you to be able to do. So don't just try to graft your way through it, okay, yeah, and end up, pulling and tearing muscles. Just look at breaking this down into a regression. I hope you enjoyed the Lou Bailey acting skills there. Okay, so here now is how we can now regress this exercise. So what we can do is go into a static lunge position first. Then instead of coming down into the lunge with one arm, we're going to use both arms as we come down into the position. So once you're set, you go into a static lunge, reach down to the ground with both hands, and then push then the leg backwards. So you then adopt straight into that push-up position, and you're then going to go down to your knees in order to be able to execute then the push-up itself. Then going to bring yourself back, okay, yeah, so the foot comes back, and instead of doing like the world's greatest stretch, what we're basically doing here is the lizard stretch. So we are just going to bring the foot up, try to drop the hips down so we get a nice deep stretch in the hips, and then we're going to then just bring ourselves back up into the static lunge. So this is the way that you can just regress this exercise to make it a lot easier. You don't have to worry about the coordination as much, okay, yeah, so this does make things a lot easier. So if you're struggling to do obviously the original exercise, then just switch this regression. Okay, so the next coaching point then is progression. So the way to get better at this exercise now to be able to progress it is actually to slow the exercise down and also add repetitions onto the push-ups themselves. By going slower, there'll be more time under tension, which will make it more physically exhausting, but also you'll spend more time in the deeper end stretches, and also then you're doing more push-ups as well at the same time. So all of that compounded together means it will be far more challenging. So your final coaching point for this exercise then, in relation to how much you're gonna do, basically we wanna be hitting this now 1 to 2 times per week. In terms of your repetitions, just do 5 on one side. So one repetition is the lunge, the stretch, the push-ups, back into the stretch, back up to the top. That's 1 rep, okay? So you want to be doing 5 on one side, stay on the one side, and then do 5 on the other side there. Takes you to a total of 10, and that's all you need to do for that. But you want to be repeating that 3 times. So you can do 3 sets of 10, okay? And then you want to be looking at doing that 2 times per week. Okay, so in this section now, we're going to go into the workout routine. This is where the rubber now really meets the road, because what we're going to do is we're going to combine those exercises for rebuilding the hips with a fitness and a strength exercise as well. And then all of those things then brought together is going to get you into the best possible shape of becoming fit, athletic, and aesthetic. So let's jump into the routine. Okay, so the way that we're going to structure this routine is in a circuit format. So what we're going to do is we're going to put 5 exercises together. We're going to do one after the other with no rest. And then when we get towards the end, we then have 2 minutes rest and then we repeat the circuit again. So the first exercise that we're going to get into is going to be the ski erg. So in relation to getting set up on the ski erg, you want to make sure that your feet are in a position whereby it allows you to be able to lift up your heels and then slam your feet down as you are pulling the handles down towards you. So make sure that first of all is you're in the right spot for that. Secondly, you want to have your feet roughly around about shoulder width apart, keeping the back reasonably straight. You want to bend the knees and you want to be hinging from the hips. So as you are pulling down, you'll feel a combination of your triceps being pulled, you'll feel the lats and the back being pulled, and you might even feel a little bit on your abdominals as well as you're pulling yourself forward. So keeping your back quite nice and straight, hinge at the hips, bend the knees, and then really just pull that down. So it is literally like you are trying to ski. So on the ski erg, we want to make sure that we are hitting 500 meters. So it should take you approximately 2 minutes, okay, a little bit less or a little bit after, depending on your level of fitness, but in and around 2 minutes to be able to hit that 500 meters. You want to be kind of going at a 90% effort rate. So this isn't like full out, but it's very, very close, okay? Yeah, so you want to feel as you get towards the end is that you do feel really tired. You've got a bit more left in the tank to be able to do a bit more, but not that much, okay? So that's how it should feel. This is going to really start really warming up the body. It's going to warm up the hips. It's going to accelerate the heart rate, okay, massively, get you good to go, ready for the rest of the routine. Once this is done, then you're then going to come straight off the ski erg, and then straight away you're going to go into the Copenhagen hip lifts. I'm not going to go through all the coaching points now. We've just covered all of that. What it's about doing now is just hitting this now with really good form. Remember, your heart rate's going to be kind of elevated quite a little bit, so you will feel fatigue. So make sure that you are purely focused on executing this really well. Keep the straight line, work hard on it, but make sure you keep that good form for hitting that 10 to 12 repetitions. Once you've obviously done one side, switch over, do the other, and that's then done. Straight from here then, we're then going to move into the lateral lunge with shoulder press. So just catch your breath just for a couple of seconds, nice deep breaths before we get into this one because it is a tough one. Okay, pick up your dumbbells. Remember, you want to be aiming for around about 25% of your body weight. Okay, get yourself into that position set up and then away we go from there. So again, like we said before, it's about focusing on the form. Make sure there that you've got that nice straight line, okay, coming through the back, okay, making sure that the chest is pointing forward all the way through, maintain good form and just hit that exercise, making sure that you've got that brace down at the bottom as well at the top. Again, once you've done your 10 repetitions, it's time to then change over to the other side, get those complete, and then we then move on to the next one. Okay, now at this stage, we're going to start feeling fatigue, okay, but we're going to move now into the athletic mobility. So this one isn't as taxing. It is hard work, yes, but we don't have any weight, so it's not too bad for you to be able to execute this now at this point. And so what we're going to do is obviously get ourselves set up in the position as we've covered before, and we're going to execute this now for 5 reps on one side, making sure that we've got that good form all the way through, and then we're going to go on to 5 on the other. Again, if you start to feel as though you are really struggling at this stage, then just regress it as we've covered earlier on. Once that's done, we're then going to move on to the farmer's carry. For this, we want to be aiming to carry around about our body weight. So you want to be, for myself there is what you can see is the 44 kilo dumbbells. And this is obviously my full body weight. So my body weight being 88, okay, yeah, this is what I would be able to use. In terms of how far you're going to go, you want to be able to basically go as far as you can. I want you to make a note of how far that you can get on every time that you complete this. The farmer's carry is an excellent way for you to be able to really build some functional strength within your body. What you are doing here now is that you are carrying weight whilst also moving at the same time. So a lot of the joints are doing a lot of movement in terms of forwards and backwards and some rotation, while you've got forces pulling you from one side and the other, which you've really got to focus on that static stability within the torso. So it's an incredible exercise, really good for the hips, really good for the back as well and the torso. So really adopt this one now because you're going to find it a great one for you to be able to do. Okay, and so that is the routine there. Once you have then completed that full circuit, take 2 to 3 minutes rest, or if you're really struggling, just have a little bit longer, and then start the circuit all over again. So this is how I am rebuilding my hips and getting fitter, more athletic and aesthetic by combining these exercises all together in this kind of routine. You can also follow suit and do the same thing yourself, which will really help you. If you have had an injury in terms of a groin tear, then just make sure that you are fully recovered before you start to execute this. So remember this, most men don't stop moving well because they get old. It's because they stop exposing themselves to movement patterns that are going to get them fitter, athletic, and more aesthetic. I'm glad you've made it so far through this video. If you need more support, then you can click on the link below and access my free hip mobility program there, which is really going to help you rebuild your hips in your 40s. Or you can also join my weekly newsletter, specifically for men in their 40s who want to rebuild their body and get fit, athletic, and aesthetic. And a really important final point. Rebuilding my hips was just the starting off point. Typically what happens when you have one problem area within the body, that leads on to other problem areas as well. And one of the big areas that I realized I also had other issues were my shoulders. So in my next video, I'm going to show you why men over 40 get a lot of shoulder pain and what you can do to rebuild that shoulders and the rest of the body to move towards that direction of keeping fit, athletic, and aesthetic. So fellas, I hope you enjoyed this video and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.